Hi, you guys. Amanda here with the Make Love Not War journey, and still on a quest to help angry wives and their spouses. Today, we have with us Morgana Ray, who's already laughing. That's great. She's the international #1 best-selling author of Financial Alchemy. So that's her core competence, which I think is very, very interesting. Please, Morgana, hi, and welcome to the show.
Hi. Well, it's funny because somebody hearing the title of that book would think that I'm like a financial advisor or something like that, which is totally not the truth. Um, in my work and my experience, all money issues are love issues. So I'm really working on the stuff behind money, like our feelings of lovability, our worthiness, and our safety in the world, which actually have everything to do with our romantic relationships too. Because when women are feeling insecure financially,
Mhm.
and safe in the world, we can become very masculine, very defensive. It's like our armor comes up. So it wasn't anything I expected or intended, but I noticed that as I was doing my work, women were getting softer
Mhm.
and more receptive to love. And men kind of were having their own journey and they were becoming like more manly and feeling better about themselves. So I have this funny niche that then I have to give this big disclaimer for. It's like, yeah, my people make millions of dollars and it's not about money. Okay, let's talk about love.
No, that was really interesting points you said there. I thought we're already getting into it. Yeah, but it's good to know your expertise. I think that's so interesting. So when women are insecure financially, they become more aggressive. I can totally relate to that. And you become more in touch with your feminine side when you don't think about
Yeah, and by the way, this is also true with women who are making a lot of money. When we're focused on money, and there's nothing wrong with focusing on money, but it can be very masculine when that's our obsession, because even people who are making millions and billions of dollars can have a lot of financial anxiety and can work too hard and have crappy personal lives. And I consider that a very high level of poverty.
yeah, so it's not even about being worried about making money. It's just the constant focus on money. It's very,
Yeah.
very
And I think the real purpose for money, which is really the only thing that makes human beings happy, is these three things, which are love, lifestyle, having a healthy lifestyle, and legacy, helping others. And so when we remember that that's really, what money is for and what life is about love, lifestyle, and legacy, then we live great lives and we can be really happy.
it's so interesting with the opposite effect it has on men and women. So
It's fun.
yeah.
It's because men, when they feel financially anxious, it's like they've been castrated. And we women really don't appreciate how painful that is for men, because we can still date, right? Because we'll just find a guy to pick up the tab. But guys can't even do that. And they don't feel worthy of having a relationship if they feel shame around their finances.
Yeah.
And then we as women want to feel safe. We don't want a guy who, we feel like is going to mooch off of us or is not going to keep us safe. And that reinforces that guy's sense of shame.
Yeah. Well, I don't really mind paying for my husband. I would love that. So he's really good with the kids and just stay at home. But yeah, I see what you mean that for men it is more important, and we just don't understand it because it's not a pressure on our shoulders. We could be just fine staying at home.
Well, and you bring up a good point. Like I earn more money than my husband. I do. At this point, it could change. And that's okay because, and you met my husband,
Yeah.
he provides so much for me that I need more. He provides so much affection and attention and emotional security. And I know that if I were ever in danger, he would be there. So one of the things I think women, especially women who do earn a lot of money and are really lonely, because I've seen this a lot among my peers where they're looking for a guy who makes as much money or more than they do, but also has time for them, which becomes a tinier and tinier pool. Men can protect and provide in ways beyond just dollars. And when a woman is financially free, we are free to choose the best man instead of settling for the best bank account,
Yeah.
which gives us a far greater choice of quality men.
And
Now, pick somebody who is responsible for himself, is not a, gambler or feeding an addiction or something like that, obviously, but he doesn't have to be the breadwinner.
how do we make sure we don't castrate him when we make much more money than he does, or able to
Mm,
do jobs that makes, like 10 times what he does?
well, don't criticize him for it.
No, no, would never.
Um, I would
Well,
say
a little bit,
be
but
really appreciative, is I think a really big thing is really genuinely, because nothing works if it's fake or manipulative or scripted, but really in a genuine way, focus on all that he does do for you and provides for you. My husband makes me feel safe. Like when my mind is going a mile a minute, if I get in his arms,
yeah.
I feel right with the world. I calm down. And he does that for me, and I let him know that he does that for me. And it's not appropriate for me to, shame him for finances. That, so first, try to avoid obviously castrating stuff, by the way, which doesn't mean you aren't going to do it from time to time accidentally, or because you're mad or you're feeling insecure or stressed out or something, but recover quickly
Yeah. No, but I
and
would
come,
do that. And then
and come back to, and I'm sure Devin talked about this a lot, our relationship is really, we focus a lot on how can I make the other person happy? How can I serve the other person? By the way, that only works if both of you are playing that game.
okay, good
Because
point.
I've been in relationships where I was playing that game and the other person wasn't,
Yeah.
So, but if both of you are coming from a place of generosity, then you're going to have a good relationship. And I posted this on Facebook, and I think, without checking with Devin first, just because I was listening to coach a young man. I have no idea who the guy is or what the guy said. I can only hear my husband's side of the conversation as I nosily listen to what my husband says. And so he's giving this young man dating advice who's feeling very discouraged with women. And it's so much fun to hear like the other side of the equation. And he was saying, this is what he told the young man to do. He said, pray to God and say, God, I really want to get to know this woman and I want to serve her. Please give me the strength to talk to her like a normal person. And then he said, and then, that group that you belong to, there are some older women in that group, like in their 70s. Go and talk to them. Learn how to talk to women like people and maybe get some advice from them. But that was so emblematic of my husband's philosophy that he lives. I mean, our relationship is so great because I picked a great relationship guy.
Yeah.
But that notion, how can I serve, is to me the complete antidote of the whole rape culture that we belong to, which is coming from this, how can I get something? How can I get pleasure? How can I get sex? How can I get a girlfriend? Or how can I get a boyfriend? And I just was so touched by, how can I serve?
Good point.
And so, very long-winded answer to a question you had a long time ago.
But I was wondering, how come you moved into love? And yeah, of course, you would explain the connection with love and money. So that's probably why. So what have you thought? Have you thought anything about this topic? I don't know if you're acquainted with the fact that I'm trying to help angry wives, and that's the reason behind the title. That we seem to be making war when because we want to make love, and then we just choose the war path for some reason.
Well, yeah, and it's so hard and it's so painful. And I have had moments with Devin where I felt so angry and flooded that I just wanted to jump out of a moving car.
True love does
You
it.
know, he does the best he can, and sometimes it's not what I need at the moment. Um, so what I would say, because I've been a coach now, I'm in my 23rd year. So I've coached far over 1,000 women, probably a couple thousand women by now. And I've also coached a lot of women who came to me who were like 1 foot out the door, getting ready to get a divorce, who then ended up, have been in very long second honeymoons, like going on 10 years now. So I didn't coach the husband. I didn't meet the husband. I didn't change the husband. But when women feel right in their relationship with life, when they feel safe, when they can feel loved, they show up differently in the relationship. So women, first we need to work on ourselves. Also, you know, are you with the right person? I don't know, because I assume we're talking to, you know, a wide variety, and the answer is going to be different for different women. But a client of mine said something really, really profound when I was coaching her long before I met Devin, and I have used that as sort of my litmus test when I was choosing a mate, which is, if nothing changes for the next 20 years, if he doesn't change that habit, if he doesn't make more money, if he doesn't lose weight or whatever it is for the next 20 years, will I be happy? And my answer has been yes. I think you certainly do not have to agree on everything. And the nature of a marriage is not that the other person, that either one of you is going to agree on everything or do everything the other person says. But I do highly, highly recommend John Gottman's book.
Mm-hmm.
Something, you know what I'm talking about, right?
You know the Gottman Institute and John Gottman, but I don't.
Yeah, the 7 somethings of making marriage work.
Okay.
Really, really good. Haven't really needed to pull it out in the relationship with Devin, because we've had a couple of scary fights here and there. Scary by, like, um, it was really, you know, very clear to me that, oh my God, if this doesn't work, I will be devastated. And then we like got over these fights in about an hour. Sometimes, and this was earlier in the relationship, I would do things that made him feel unsafe. Like, I have been wearing really low-cut, boobalicious clothing all my life. I am big busted, and I got a lot of positive reinforcement, not just from men, but from women, my friends. And when we got married, he was like, I don't feel safe when you dress like that. I feel like you're looking for my replacement. And by the way, I'm right. And I'm still right. I should be able to dress any way I like. That said, I also want to have compassion and recognize that my husband is hurting. So maybe I should buy those bras that, you know, cover the top a little bit, so that he can feel safer in the relationship, because I know how important it is for me to feel safe in the relationship.
It is. Actually, after I interviewed Devin, I saw it very clearly. It's really amazing coming home every night and then having learned all these things and you become aware of them. And, you know, half the time, my husband doesn't know what I'm talking about. If I'm like, at one point, I was crying, you don't even speak any love language, you know, from the.
Yes, he does. Men, in my experience,
Mine or something. It's just funny.
yeah, like, my love language is touch. Like, I need to be touched all the time. And it's overwhelming for my husband, and he has huge capacity, and he's very nice about it. There are benefits. He gets a lot of blowjobs because my love language is touch. Ladies. Yeah. Yeah. Once I was giving some friends like my advice, like the ABCs of a happy marriage: appreciation, blowjobs, and I can't remember what C is.
I told a friend of mine was coming, oh, I need a couple therapy, blowjob. It's very easy for women because it's quite, simple to do that. Men don't know what to do. I mean, we're more complicated.
Well, and with this person, with my husband, I'm so in love with him that I'm just, and I don't have my own penis, so I find his like fascinating, you know. But it really just comes out of affection. If I was angry at him, it would be more challenging. So
after the anger, when you've hurt him, and because it has repercussions, so
yeah.
I can fix it, quite easily, because I do want it better once I've lashed out.
Like, pick the right person. Like, I didn't meet my husband until I was 45. And I actually asked a lot of friends and friends of my parents who had been, and my grandparents who were married for 50 years. And I would ask, madly in love, like even in my grandmother's last days, she died last year, and this is her painting here. And she started the Renaissance Fair, which is there. But she was still reaching out for grandpa. They were having sex into their 90s. They were deeply in love. They also went to a lot of therapy in the early decades of their marriage. But so I asked all these happily married for many, many years couples what their secret was. And I thought it would be like, don't go to bed angry and all that kind of stuff. No, they all said exactly the same thing. And they said, I picked the right person. And sometimes, things come up and it's like, did I pick the right person? And I have those moments too. I totally have those moments too, especially during last year's election. And no, my husband did not vote for Trump, which makes it a lot easier to stay married to him. Thank goodness, because I really hit the jackpot with my husband because he's the right person for me. If you're angry right now, and by the way, angry means hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And unsafe. For us women, angry means hurt and unsafe. So let yourself feel those soft feelings. By the way, men respond to soft feelings and vulnerability because it brings out their hero, their need to be the hero, the need to hold you and protect you. So go into those feelings and go back to what you originally fell in love with. Go back to the dream of the relationship. What's really sad is that because women and men don't know how to communicate with each other, because we women communicate as if the guy was a woman, and which baffles and confounds him. But because men and women don't really know how to communicate to each other, what typically happens is a woman expresses her needs for years in a way that he can't hear or respond to. Doesn't meet his male criteria for response until she finally is fed up, shuts down, and is gone and is out and is ready to leave the marriage. And that's when the guy wakes up, what?
Yeah.
What? And then it's too late. So we don't want to let it get there. And we need to learn how to communicate to men in a way that they can hear. And by the way, some women really know how to do this. I have this client in Thailand who went with me to Bali in 2014. And I didn't realize this until we were like in the room of my little money goddess retreat in Bali. And she's telling me that she had this long list of reasons not to go to Bali with me. It was like, her husband was in the middle of a lawsuit, which was really expensive. They were remodeling the house, which was really expensive. The kids had private school tuition, which was really expensive. She wanted to go on a family holiday with her parents, and she had just spent, tens of thousands of dollars on other coaches in the US, and like on and on and on and on. Every one of those was like a great reason to not go with me to Bali. And she had only one reason to go with me to Bali, which in the pro side was that she felt like her soul would die. And when she told her husband that, honestly, just like, I feel like my soul will die if I don't go, he was like, then you have to go. And she's somebody who is just so, they have such, they met in high school and they're madly, madly in love, like decades later. And she's somebody who really knows how to communicate to her husband in a way that really brings forth his hero, and is able to come back to her heart very quickly, even when they fight, and come back to love. And oh, here's a tip. You may have heard it from my husband, and you'll hear it from me. We get married a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? By the way, genius idea on his part. We had like this wedding in Mostar, and I had a migraine on the ride from Montenegro to Mostar, and I was stuck in the sunny side of the shuttle, and he was on the shade, and he didn't listen to me when I said I needed the shade, and I just wanted to kill him. I was so hurt that he didn't let me go into the shade. He didn't understand. I didn't communicate why that was so important adequately. And I was just so angry and so hurt, and I wanted to kill him. And I knew we were getting married the next day, and we were going to have to work it out. So we have an agreement that we keep pretty well, which is to be nice to each other even when we want to kill each other. Really good practice.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that Devin came up with in the vows in one of our weddings that really feels good to me, and I think we both really try to practice, is to be a soft landing. Last 2017 felt like the whole world was on fire. And I don't know that that will get any better in 2018 for a while. But our home was really happy, which was a very weird kind of dual reality to be living in, of like, wow, my home life is really, really happy, and the world is going berserk. So try to be a soft landing.
Yeah, avoid going to the war zone. Just
Yeah.
stop it.
And if you can like exchange vows with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
it's a really, really good relationship practice, because this is how we do it. It's like each time it goes to a deeper new place, because we know each other better. Even if we had exchanged vows just a few weeks earlier, we still know each other a little bit better based on what's transpired. It's like, oh, he needs this, so I want to help him with this. I want to provide this so that he can be the man he wants to be, so he can, whatever I can do to help his happiness. And that's kind of what our wedding vows are. And by the way, he proposed to me over Skype while I was in Bali and he was in South Africa.
For the first time, or for the...
That was the first. I thought he was breaking up with me that week. It was like we were having these. He didn't tell you this? Okay. We were having, like, I had just finished my retreat, and he would have to get up at like 4:00 in the morning and traipse through the brush in South Africa, and almost got eaten by a lion, which I think is what, gave him a clue that I was the one. I didn't need that. I'd already figured it out. I figured out a year earlier that when he asked me, and it wasn't if, it was when he asked me, I would say yes. I just thought we had a few more years to go.
You're a little slower sometimes.
They need, yeah, it's just the difference is so fascinating and comical to me. We had a week of conversations of him saying, I don't think I'm the right guy for you, or I don't think you're the right woman for me. And then we'd have these like, this horrifying statement. And then we'd have a conversation. Then he'd say, okay, well, I want you to know I'm just having this conversation because I care about you and I want this to work. And then I'm like, until it starts all over again the next day. And then he proposes marriage. And I was like, I almost got whiplash because I was like, this is men.
Yeah.
He was working it out. And so I realized in that moment for me, because I was already 47, that I didn't want to pour $40,000 or $100,000 into a one-day party. I just didn't want the pressure of the dress and the venue and the catering and the guest list. I just wanted to be married to him. So we eloped with no witnesses, no fanfare, no fancy clothing, nothing. And I thought, okay, done. I am finally a married woman. So that we have been married so many times with like castles and costumes and fanfare is a really great cosmic joke.
Yeah.
And I never had to like book venues or caterers or entertainment. It's just like whatever if it's a park bench or a cathedral, I'm all good, because I really got that it's not about the party, it's about us. And that came from a wedding we had in Serbia.
In where?
Serbia. Belgrade, Serbia. Beautiful, beautiful city. And Devin has a childhood friend in Serbia. And it was the wedding from hell.
Oh.
For some reason, and I'm not gonna conjecture why or what was going on. But when my husband started saying his vows to me, which were like really poetic, beautiful stuff about a man has two faces, what he shows to the world, what he shows to just one woman. He's like saying this great stuff. And these people at the wedding start to boo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like thinking of like walking down the little steps in my little kitten heels and punching somebody out, because I'm like a really tiny person. And yeah, something like boom. And I had this moment of clarity that I wasn't going home with any of these people. I was going home with Devin. And that nobody can ruin your wedding, because it's not about the wedding. It's about the marriage. The marriage is the prize.
Yeah.
So I back to angry wives. Angry wives are wives who are feeling unsafe and unloved, or not safe and loved enough. And I think you need to get to the root cause of that. And here's a big thing is like your husband cannot make you feel safe and loved all on his own. Those who know my work, and I am not assuming anybody does, you can find out about that at morganaray.com. Like, I'm famous for personifying the monster of all of your bad experiences. And we call it the money monster because I'm famous for financial results, but it's really a life monster and a love monster. And you personify like all of the things that have ever made you feel unsafe, unloved, or unworthy. Yeah. And then you slay that beast and you replace him with all that's left, which is love. And we call that the money honey. So that's like the 15-second synopsis of what I do.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
But I remember getting, I get a lot of testimonials from women on how that impacts their love lives. And one of them, a woman named Kristen from, I think 2010, wrote that because she felt so loved by her imaginary money honey, mm-hmm. she was getting stuff from this imaginary friend that was more appropriate for her to get from the imaginary friend than from her husband, which took pressure off her husband. She was trying to get stuff from her husband that wasn't really his job to provide. And taking that pressure off her husband made their relationship really, really good.
Yeah.
So she could feel loved by him. I mean, pick the right person. Know that even the right person is going to drive you crazy because that's their job. Because the notion that of two human beings cohabitating is kind of miraculous and shocking to me. How does that ever work, you know? And
different.
And you know, you need to work out your own stuff and not make your partner responsible for your own inner work. And then you can come to the relationship with much clearer eyes about whether this anger is really about your husband, whether the issue really is about your husband, or if it's about something else. And then it's a lot easier to become team members. Oh, I know we're probably going way over time, but I just had...
Yeah, and I have something afterwards I need to ask. Go ahead.
Okay. Here's a tip.
Yeah.
Here's like a relationship coaching tip from when I was training in relationship coaching back in 2001 or 2 or something like that. When you are having a conversation with your partner about a challenge or an issue, if you can, try sitting shoulder to shoulder, like side by side on the couch. And then put the problem, like finances or sex or whatever, like over there, you know, like where the TV would go or something. So imagine the two of you are in your like happy relationship bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is external to the relationship.
Good.
And then talk about it together as a united force against that external problem.
Such a good tip.
Yeah. Because when you're face to face, that's confrontational, that's already adversary. But when you're shoulder to shoulder, it's like, so we have like mixed match sex drives, you know, and instead of saying you talk about it, but your relationship is in like a bubble, the love is here, and that's just a thing. Another thing is like if you have a role of like one person does the cleanup all the time and one person doesn't or something like that, or one person is the nag and the other person is like the bad child.
You know, it's the nag.
Yeah, that never ever happens. These are roles, these are not you.
Yeah.
And the more you can separate yourself from the role, and you're sick of the role anyway. I had a coach who called that role nausea, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah.
You know, discuss the roles. And discuss the roles like this, like take it off as if it's a Batman costume or something, but it's not you. It's just this, it's part of the contract of the relationship, and you get to renegotiate these roles. You know, talk about what's so great about being, you know, the Felix Unger tidy person, and what's so great about being the Oscar, what's his name, messy person. And then try swapping the roles, you know, just ways to separate the person you love from the stuff that drives you crazy, because the person is so much more than that.
Exactly. And it's probably his issues anyways, that is not him. I had a question I have to ask before we end it, because it's very relevant for you. Do you think there's a correlation? I'm trying to make a formula for how love turns into negative feelings. Do you think there's a correlation between women with high ambition and angry wives? Do you think ambition plays a role, which often comes out in success and drive to make money? And
well, I don't know, because I don't know that unambitious wives are less angry. I don't know. But here's how I characterize ambitious women. Like I have this whole money goddess pantheon. That's what I do in Bali. And ambitious women are my Athenas, who are honestly my favorite. And I'm an Athena. We're not just that. We're lots of things. But Athena women get shit done. Pardon my language. I love that. And we're smart. We're the Hermione Grangers, which can be crazy making when we're the smartest in the room and often not listened to because our voices are higher pitched. And so I think that there is some anger just in that. Athena women tend to be in our masculine. The goddess Athena in classical Greek mythology was so masculine. She didn't have a mom. She jumped out of her daddy's head in full battle armor, which is awesome. Awesome. It's part of being a woman. We get to be powerful. We get to be world leaders. We get to be smarty pants and scientists and all that kind of stuff and need to be respected. But armor is not good in the bedroom. So we need to learn how to turn that off. And one of the things that Athena needs, because Athena's dark side, her superpower is wisdom, visionary. She's the smartest person ever. But her dark side, her wound, is exhaustion, overwork, and loneliness. So what Athena needs is she needs to learn to set boundaries. And she's such a perfectionist. She needs to embrace progress, not perfection. She needs to delegate more, delete more. Boundaries are really like that. That is her biggest ticket to happiness, to strive to have less on her to-do list and to embrace and make pleasure a value. Something of, just a real easy, simple Aphrodite trick, like taking a bath. Aphrodite was born in the ocean. So things that are water are really good at kind of reconnecting us to our softness. So it isn't going to take you like a lot of time or,
especially in the winter.
Yeah, take a hot bath, put on some, lacy underpants, light a candle, and now we can get back to business. But, that kind of sensuality, just acknowledge every Athena woman really does want to be loved because we are built, our human beings, our dopamine, all of our hormones, we feel happier when we're touched. We feel happier when we are appreciated. We are fantastic at solving problems, and we're more than just problem solvers. So my Athena women, if you're angry, it's because you're doing too much, you're not saying no enough, you're not getting enough help, and only you can make that happen. If your husband isn't cleaning up, then hire somebody to come over and clean up and take a bath.
Yeah. I only heard the blowjob part of your ABCs, and my mind is going, what was the
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what C was, and I just, I came up with it a while ago, and I just can't remember. Yeah, but appreciation is the first one. Yeah. Men really, they need appreciation, they need admiration. We do too. But I know that when I was single, I kind of looked at men as space aliens, and I wondered if they even had feelings.
I think they look at women the same way.
And they do. They do.
They get scared. Oh.
We just communicate it so differently.
We do. It's tricky. Thank you so much for all your great advice. It's really interesting. I need to so much look more into what you're doing with your money goddess and the money monster. But I think there is a link, and I actually extended the summit to make love not war, and make money in one of my posts, because I the triangle to be happy and not be angry. I do believe to make money as well.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Morgana. Say hi to your lovely husband for me.
I'll do that as soon as we complete.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.